Good morning, friends. Sabah al khair, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba. Members of the IDSA, Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analyses Executive Council, distinguished guests and participants, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to the 4th West Asia Conference at the Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analyses this morning. And I'm particularly delighted to welcome in our midst General V.K. Singh, former Chief of Army Staff and now Minister of State for Road Transport and Highways, who, in his capacity as the Minister of State for External Affairs in the last cabinet of Prime Minister Modi, had himself led Operation Rahat to evacuate Indian and foreign nationals during the peak of the Yemen crisis in 2015. He has, therefore, vast experience with the West Asian region, including the Gulf as well. As you're probably aware, we have just been renamed. The IDSA has just been renamed as the Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analyses, and that is a great tribute in honor of the late Sri Manohar Parrikar, former Defense Minister of India. He was not just India's defense minister, but he was also the then IDSA's president of the Executive Council, and he very ably guided the institute during his tenure. This month, on the 9th of February, our institute completed 55 years of its existence, and over the years, the institute has made a mark for itself both nationally and globally as one of the most dynamic think tanks in India. It is already well known as India's oldest and best known think tank that works at the confluence of defense, national security, and foreign policy issues. The West Asia Conference, as you all know, is the Institute's biennial flagship event. And since its inception in 2014, the conference has evolved into a well-established platform to discuss matters involving key security issues in West Asia and North Africa. We have fostered an atmosphere in which discussions are frank and candid, and we truly value the ideas that you have been contributing and that which you will contribute during the course of this conference. This year, the theme of the conference is 10 years of political and economic transformation in West Asia, challenges, lessons, and future trends. We chose this theme because it's timely and of great topical interest to all of us. You will all agree that a decade is indeed an appropriate time frame to take stock of the impact of the epochal changes unleashed by the Arab Spring in the region in 2010. Today, we still live, despite all the indications to the contrary, we still live in an interconnected world, but one that is undergoing a profound transformation. There is uncertainty amidst growing nationalism, regionalism, and diminishing multilateralism. Perhaps at the same time, there is growing multipolarity. There is a fracturing of power. States and non-state actors have the means to bridge asymmetry in power, and trade and technology are being weaponized, and developmental finance is being used by some for strategic ends. Worryingly, the global economy is likely to grow at its slowest pace in a decade, with only a 3% rise in 2020. And I'm not sure how it's going to be further affected by the coronavirus, the spread of it. The scare is likely to depress growth in China, certainly by a margin, and it will disrupt, as we have seen, global supply chains, including energy exports from West Asia. Territorial disputes and high military expenditures are common in Asia, and West Asia is no exception. A stable regional security architecture has yet to emerge. Traditional and non-traditional security challenges such as economic and military competition, climate change, cyber threats, terrorism, and energy security have grown in magnitude. Above all, the specter of terrorism, especially cross-border terrorism, continues to cast a long shadow on the processes of peace and development. The geopolitical situation in WANA continues to remain fluid. The process of transition from authoritarianism to participatory politics has been rather painful and inconclusive. A power struggle among the key regional stakeholders has complicated the regional security situation in the Gulf. The unraveling of the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, better known as JCPOA, as well as the drone attacks on the two Aramco oil facilities in September 2019, and subsequently the unexpected killing of IRGC General Qasem Soleimani have complicated the situation, to say the least. The situation in Syria, Libya, and Yemen continues to deteriorate amid growing sectarian, ethnic, and tribal divisions. Thousands of people have been killed, and many more have been displaced. Iraq is yet to recover from the devastating civil war in the aftermath of the US intervention in 2003. The developments in Iran's domestic and foreign policy have a direct bearing on Iraq's future. The threat of ISIS has not completely disappeared. The ongoing uncertainty has undermined the WANA region's economic progress. The region's economic growth is now almost half of what it was before the unrest began in 2011. And today the region has one of the world's highest unemployment rates, as well as the slowest GDP per capita growth. The economic projections of this region continue to remain grim. Amidst the continuing instability and violence, the issue of energy security has assumed enormous significance for the oil importing countries of India, Japan, South Korea, and China. Production and supply of oil have been frequently disrupted. The emergence of non-OPEC oil suppliers, such as the United States as the world's largest producer and a major exporter, has undermined the traditional energy dominance of the Gulf states. India's policy of Look West has been transformed into a Link and Act West policy. This is reflected in Prime Minister Modi's unprecedented visits to all the major states of West Asia. And some of these countries were not visited in the past by any Indian Prime Minister for years, in some cases decades. The Gulf, as you know, is one of our largest markets, supplier of energy and source of remittances. There are about 9 million Indians living in the Gulf alone. Energy supplies and the safety and security of our large diaspora are of utmost importance to us. And at the same time, India's reliance on Gulf energy supplies is gradually declining as we buy more from the United States. In the financial year 2019-2020, India will be off-taking oil and gas worth roughly US $10 billion from the United States alone. Today, this transformation in our historical ties is anchored in shared interests and prosperity. India values its strategic autonomy. This has permitted India to have friendly relations with both Israel and Palestine, and to balance our ties with Iran and Saudi Arabia, as also Iran and the United States of America. The OIC's invitation to India to participate as the guest country in March 2019 to address the inaugural plenary of the OIC Foreign Ministers meeting held in Abu Dhabi is a reflection of the growing acceptance of India as a key regional stakeholder. Defense diplomacy, of which, of course, General V.K. Singh can tell you much more, having been a practitioner of both defense issues as well as diplomacy, truly speaking. Defense diplomacy is now a key pillar of India's Link and Act West policy. It is predicated on countering terrorism and ensuring maritime and military training, as well as capacity building. Ladies and gentlemen, over the next 2 days, as in today and tomorrow, and 6 sessions, the 4th West Asia Conference will bring together, as it has, around 35 experts, including 15 eminent international speakers. They are all here before you, and shortly you will hear from them. And we will, all of us together, discuss various facets of political and economic transformation in West Asia. I'm confident that the proceedings of the conference will generate new ideas and perspectives that will deepen mutual understanding, friendship, and cooperation between us. So with these words, once again, I extend to you all a very warm welcome, and particularly to General V.K. Singh, who has graced this occasion with his presence this morning. Thank you all very much. Shukran lakh. Shukran jaziran.